One of the greatest mistakes that people make on the spiritual path is assuming or claiming that they are a spiritual person, because it is by inherently claiming a spiritual ego that you get in the way of yourselves, in the sense. You see, when someone loses or loosens their sense of their self, of their identity, and they go on and put on new identity, a new set of metaphysical skin, a metaphorical skin, they're inherently just repeating the other patterns. It's just a new identity, a spiritual identity. You see, but the reality is that that is what you are not. That is to say, you are not that ego, that spiritual ego. You are not that. And I think it's important because it's likely something that happens on everyone's journey, you know? Because yes, the patterns, the behaviors, the thoughts may have changed. But what has not changed is what you are. Because you are still not that idea of what you think you are. You are not the ego, the individualized personality that, quite frankly, doesn't really exist, yet it appears to. And so, I would like to ask you, what do you think you are? And are you still grasping to an ego, whether that be spiritual or not? Are you still grasping onto it, holding on to an identity that you think that you must be, and you think that you must live up to? Because the truth is, that is not what you are. You are right here and right now. You are the great eternal happening of this universe. But if you think you are a person, you are eliminating what you think you really are and what you know you really are. You see, it is inherently a bind that you can put on yourself to believe that you are the same thing that you were trying to escape from. That is to say, if you are doing all this meditation, if you are doing all this spiritual practice, to let go of your ego, to let go of your lower identity and connect to your true reality, what is the point of putting on a new identity? Or at the very least, believing that you are that new identity. What I'm offering to you is the idea that the change in your habits, beliefs, thoughts are not inherently a bad thing, but you are not them. And this is something that is important to remind ourselves, that when we have a certain sense that we are a spiritual person, we put a set of boundaries and limits on ourselves. That is to say that, oh, I am a spiritual person, and there are other people that are not. Meaning that other people cannot be spiritual. But this reality is inherently spiritual. Everyone is inherently spiritual. Because we are all inherently the same thing. Down to the deepest core, we are the same. So to say that you are anything different from them, from me, is inherently a fallacy. In the deepest core of this meaning. And there can arise many great egoistic battles to say that, oh, I am a spiritual person, therefore I am better than the person who lacks this certain information, who does not behave in a certain way, does not have a certain understanding of the universe. When inherently, they are that same piece of the universe that you are. Or, at the very least, a piece of fabric cut from the same cloth. And this is inherently a problem we see in much of life, you know? People say, oh, all the other religions are great and all, but none of them truly reach the heights or the peaks of reality as Christianity or Islam or Hinduism or this or that. And while these, it's almost a spiritual one-upmanship, saying that this is better than this because of so-and-so. When in reality, all these religions are just pointing us to things. They are vehicles. No, they are maps pointing us to the direction of reality in its true state, pointing us to a state of being. They're pointing us to the river. And our spiritual practice is the vehicle. It is the boat that gets us across that river from one level of consciousness, one level of understanding, to the other level of consciousness. The divine consciousness, the Christ consciousness, the Krishna consciousness, whatever you would like to call it. The state of understanding and being in its purest form. And so, this is where we look at ourselves and say, how attached am I? How grounded am I? Where am I at a frequency level? Where is my frequency at right now? And what level of understanding, what level of consciousness am I at? Am I residing in the seat of the Godhead? Am I at a level of sadness? Am I at a level of fear? Am I at a level of gratitude? These are all things to look at. But at the deepest sense, at the deepest core, the most important thing is to ask yourself, what am I holding on to? What am I attached to? Because when you let go fully, you become weightless and simply observe. And maybe you will be able to observe how spiritual one-upmanship is inherently no different than any other egoic comparison. And it might be the worst of all, because it is something that inherently limits you from being in that state of awareness that is the seat of the Godhead. So where are you? Notice, because that's all you need to do.